This it has boy me.
Welcome back, everybody. Hello, Manny. How are you? To a new live episode of the Wisemen Say podcast. Cy Fish alongside Derik, Abbott, Jerald Lucas will be joining us here later. Derik, I cannot believe I'm saying this. It is match week number 1.
It's wild to think, right? I was just telling my about that a little bit earlier, how they start playing this week a real game, and she was like, "Wow, I feel like it's been a really long time." I'm like, I totally agree. Like for whatever reason, it's felt like a much longer off season than I don't know, at least to me in the past. Um, and they always change the playoffs, so like the start time of the playoffs even isn't always necessarily the same time. But I don't know. This year felt like a long time, but I'm glad that the black and gold will be back on the pitch Saturday night.
I think I think the reason why we think it's long is because we haven't made the playoffs in like the last 2 years.
Well, it depends on what you look at as making the playoffs, though.
I'm sorry. We have not had an extended postseason
True.
in 2 years, so it's been like
Yes.
it's been extra long.
I don't know how, I wasn't, in the crew sphere nearly as much back in the days, but like for a while it's become such a like really expectation to at least be in the playoffs and win a game, make some kind of run that yeah, to only get into like the first round, I guess I don't know what we're officially calling it, but that first round of games is definitely a wild thing, and hopefully this year that's not the case. We have a shorter off season.
What's today's date? The 8th, 19th, 18th?
18th.
18th. Sorry. I forgot to get the banners ready for or the banner ready for the show. But yeah, I think it's surreal, right? Because it's just like yesterday we were talking to coach and Sean and oh my god, Dylan, and I've kind of gotten back into the swing of things, right? Because I would normally go to training and media availability, and then kind of veer away because ODU
Oh
soccer
yeah.
would start up, and I just missed those because I had to work and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So kind of getting back into the swing of things, and now it's the realization of, man, just a couple of days away, the black and gold take the field for the first time with a new coach.
Yeah. It's not been too long, but it
Yeah,
definitely feels like a little bit different having a new coach again.
yeah,
And I think too, with this one in particular versus our previous few coaches, it's a bit of an unknown.
yeah.
We don't quite know what to expect. Whereas the previous ones, you had a general idea because they were coaching in MLS and what the year before in a lot of cases. So it's definitely fun to kind of have that bit of an unknown going into the season, but you could feel the excitement. And like you
Yeah.
said, I'm seeing all the clips of you and others at the performance center and all these interviews, and newspaper articles, different stuff like that. So it's very, very exciting.
Muhan Heeper, I see you in the chat. How are you guys doing tonight? Our rivals down south are about to kick off in CONCACAF Champions League. Yep,
Oh
we don't care
yes.
about that. Well, forget them. But I mean, as I told you off stage, I think pretty much just this whole episode, right? Just previewing Portland, right?
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and kind of kick this thing off. I have the rundown ready to go right here. So I mean, hey, let's just kick it off, right? Match day 1 at the Portland Timbers, kickoff at 10:30 Eastern time, 7:30 on the Pacific Northwest Coast. What are we talking about? We are talking about Columbus Crew, Portland Timbers this Saturday, only on Apple TV. And right into it we go. Why this match matters, right? You get good season opener energy. If it's a fresh start for both clubs, Portland bringing in some new faces. Um, Columbus, new coach, new captain, couple new faces. Both teams knocked out in the opening round of the 2025 MLS Cup playoffs. It's an early tone setter for MLS, though there are games prior. And it's a national spotlight opportunity, right? Obviously, again, Apple TV. And for us, our expectations remain high. Obviously, we want to start the season off on the right foot. And it's a first true look under new coach Henrik Rydstrom. What do you think about this first match for the Columbus Crew?
Yeah, I think it'll be a interesting test for the team to be implemented into, you know, for lack of a better term, new system. I mean, realistically, what they're going to be doing out there and what coaches kind of talked about through a lot of the preseason conversations and things that he's had with media. Their tactic is going to be somewhat similar to what we've expected in the past, but there will definitely be a noticeable wrinkle in that, and I think that'll be really interesting to see on Saturday. And I'd be remiss if I didn't think about Nanti's first game, and I know we've talked about it on here in the past, but like knowing how that game played and implementing a brand new system, I think we should all taper our expectations. Like, I'm really excited to see how it is, how all the players fit in really well. Specific ones like someone like Gazdag, I'm really excited to see what we might see different from him in this system. But at the same time, it's everybody. I mean, their off season is what, like roughly a month, more or less, when you think of like from coach getting into the preseason games, things like that. I think that while that's still a fair amount of time, they're practicing together. They're together almost every single day. But at the same time, I think you got to understand that it might take some time, and I think that the us as a collective fan base, just let's take the first game or even the first few in stride. Especially a first one. You're on the West Coast. We're getting MLS After Dark, first game of the season. I can't even remember the last time that's happened. So it'll be a late night for everybody. But so just, I think you just enjoy what we're seeing, and that crew is back.
Hmm.
And then, let's give it till the third game before we really start to have like strong opinions about what we're seeing out there when it comes to the new system. So I think it's going to be a bit of a jolt for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we were talking to Rydstrom the other day, and if I'm not mistaken, the way that he worded it, we're in the honeymoon phase, right?
Yes,
We're in
yes.
the honeymoon phase, and then the season is the entire marriage and whatnot. It's a whole analogy. You have to go check it out.
Yeah.
But no, it's a weird analogy, just like Nancy's with the whole substitution and we're at a party and maybe I don't like the party and stuff like that. So no, I think given 3 games is right, because if we remember under Nazi the first game, it was just absolute, oh, this team is not going to do good, da, 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 da.
Mhm.
It's just, oh, fire Nazi right away. So just give it time. You remember what happened last time we had a new coach, right? I mean, Nazi's first year with the team, I mean, I'm not saying it's written in the stars, but I think it's kind of written in
Yeah,
the stars.
right. I like
uh,
that.
moving on. Now, our biggest storyline, right? Couple key themes. It's continuity versus evolution, right? So
Mhm.
the continuity phase would be, maybe Redstrom lines up in that 3-4-3 that Nancy did. But now how can we uh make it um evolute to a new um a new thing, kind of something. Why is there we go? Kind of something that nobody has seen before, right? Because if you remember, obviously, when we kept doing the same thing, teams caught on to us. They play man to man, they drop down into a low block,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. The tactical identity entering 2026 is kind of the same thing, but now we get into the depth of it. It's tested immediately. We lose Jason Russell Rowe. We have a couple of new incoming pieces, one that still is not with the team because of paperwork. but now we have depth pieces that are going to get tested against this very good Portland team under Phil Neville.
Yeah, I think that, you know, especially when you mentioned something like continuity and evolution, I think when you think about how a lot of these we've lost some players, but primarily a core group of players is still there. That's been there for a few years. And with a system that's coming in that's newer but not completely different, I think you can lean on that side of things. And then you have the evolution piece of it where learning the new things. And I see your question about like how sharp is the attack going to be
Out
out
of
the
the gate.
gates? And I
Mhm.
think that that's the interesting piece because we kind of knew what to expect from the old Nazi system.
Yeah.
You kind of knew it, but I mean, if you've been listening to kind of what they're going to implement from a tactic standpoint, it'll be really interesting to see like how do you gauge that attack? Like are we talking more of run to play goals? I think it'll be more of it might look like a run and play goal, but I think that the lead up to it's going to look a lot different. We're not going to be stretching the field and stuff. And so I think you have that type of evolution going on with the individuals that we have. Now, realistically, I think if you see any clips or you are kind of compartmentalizing what this attack is supposed to be, there should be plenty of opportunities to be able to attack from a goal scoring perspective, but I think also just moving the ball forward, honestly. And that was something we go back to the goalie or we go out to the side. We do a lot of, ball control and holding the ball. And I think you're going to see a lot more of attempts to make chances quickly.
Mhm.
And what I mean that by that is like getting the ball into maybe even if it's sides or the middle, like crowded areas, sucking people in, and then boom, immediately trying to get it out to someone who's in a position to make a play. So I think realistically, we have the players in place to make that work. It's just a matter of, again, I think the evolution aspect of how far are we moved along that kind of sliding scale of reaching the full potential of what we're looking for.
And then the second point, right? Can we control tempo early? I mean, I think when we talked to Redstrom yesterday, you know, a lot of the things that he said was, he wants the team to be more direct, right? And I feel like we were direct, but I don't think we were too direct under Nazi.
Hmm.
Now, Portland is a very vertical team, right? Phil Neville, if you recall in Miami, Miami was a very vertical team. Portland's going to be a very vertical team. So I would say to pose a question to you, and I'll bring Jerald on too to answer this question. Um, how can we kind of control this tempo early? We'll say within the first 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think the starting off strong with the ball. Whenever we do get the ball, immediately implementing what we want to do. Because that's really, I mean, it's the only way you can set a tone, but also the style that you're trying to implement, you need to have control of that ball. And there's going to be times where maybe you're giving it up, and I think we will see a little bit more of that. But I think the making sure we're doing what we want to do right away and going forward with that, I think it was the Cincy games that we were in. I don't remember if it was the first or second, or it was the first or third game. I think it was primarily the first, but you could tell we were not having control of that game in terms of like what we wanted to do. Like they were dictating the pace right away. So I think
Oh
like
yeah, 100%.
making sure that whatever, however you want to get to I think central part of what the attack's going to be, establishing that immediately and just being relentless with it, I think would be the best kind of way to go about it.
Jerald, what say you? Welcome to the show, buddy. Okay. um. Okay. Um. Yeah. I. I mean, it's too early to tell. Obviously, we don't see a lot of preseason, right? We can only go
Mm,
by what we've been told, what we know. Um, and stuff like that. I will say one more big question is who do we think will kind of earn this spot on the right hand side? We know Mo Farsi is out, right, with that injury. But when he comes back, do we still see Herrera? How well is Herrera going to do so far and at the beginning of the season? But who do we think will kind of end the season? I know it's a little bit early to ask, but who do we think is going to end the season on that right hand side?
Yeah, that's a great question. uh, Yesterday, or it was either Tuesday. Yeah, yesterday was Tuesday. Tuesday, uh, during the presser, they pretty much confirmed that Farsi was not going to be available for this game, and at least what I kind of took from it was that he is probably not going to play for a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be one game. So Herrera's going to get that chance. We saw a lot of it last year, and I think everyone was really impressed by it. I mean, by the end of the summer transfer window, everyone was kind of waiting on bated breath to going to sign to a full time deal through us and buy out his loan and that type of thing. So that obviously is good because you have him starting on that side to start off. So we're not necessarily losing a step when it comes to that because you have somebody who's really battle tested for almost an entire season now in that role. It's there's no shame in me saying last year I said that like Mo Farsi was like the kind of my favorite guy on the team in terms of like the style he played, the energy he brought, all those things. And that
Hmm.
that still remains to be true, but it does make me wonder, like coming back from such a injury that he tried to play through it and work through it, didn't work out, had to have the surgery later than like Camacho did, and I think they had somewhat similar, um, to a degree, somewhat similar injuries. So it's going to be a little bit of adjusting for him coming back from those. I think we mentioned last week, the week before, like I've never had a hernia or anywhere near like that
Yeah.
region of the body, like an injury like that. So I don't know what that looks like when you talk about like coming back and being able to be at like full speed, being able to cut, different things like that. So I think that's going to take a while. And as much as it pains me to say, I don't know how easy it's going to be for him to earn his spot back at that point. And I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, there were, um, people were reaching out to us about potentially bringing him over to their teams. And so, one depends on how he comes back, I'm sure, to whether or not those offers continue to come in. But two, if Herrera plays as well as I think we all expect him to, that could be a scenario where I could see someone leaving in the summer transfer window from our team that may not be the most obvious one, but I think could certainly be pretty high up on that list due to and if you're the crew, you probably make that move at that point too, I should say. Like
Yeah.
it would not surprise me in one bit. And I think it's probably the right move at this point because I don't know if your return would be any higher at that rate unless you like really came back like some kind of superstar, then maybe you keep him. But when you have someone like Herrera who's proven it now, we brought in, I'm blanking on his name, but we brought in someone else who likes to play on the right as well. Um,
Um.
it was a name that I knew I was not going to like
n-
pronounce
s-
correctly
So
at
yeah.
first.
So from what I was told, it's Narman Akunsada.
Akunsada. Okay. So Akunsada, I actually have pretty high hopes for him and watching some of and highlight reels are always reels of guys doing their best work. So you
Yeah.
can only go off of the really good things. But overall, I have pretty high hopes for him, like long term with the team. And with someone at his age, I think that's someone who could come over here do really well, and then it turns into a scenario where he goes somewhere else. And I'm starting to become more comfortable with that as we get into these seasons. So as we continue along, and that's kind of become the MLS thing, and it took me a little longer to get on board with the idea of our teams are just going to be doing that. I think there's definitely an opportunity for that where he comes in, gets to learn for a few years, becomes really good. You have Herrera, who by I think everybody's thoughts are that we're going to end up making sure he's on our team full time by the end of the
Yeah.
summer, and I think you're kind of off to the races there. So, but I would love to be wrong. I would love for Mo Farsi to come back, reclaim that, and just play out of his mind. But as of where we stand today, I think that Herrera is going to be primarily most of the season in that role.
And Manny brings up a big point. We have a big squad, so I think the one of the big expectations is to try and do well in both the cups, right? I said, I think it was yesterday. I was on Battered MLS Fans with Chris from Battered Herons. I think the expectation is MLS Cup, but I want us to do well in the Open Cup
Yes.
this year. I really want us to do well in the Open Cup. And that kind of brings us to the next slide. Um, Players to watch for the upcoming season. Primary goal scorer, obviously, we might say it's Wissam Abu Ali, right?
Hmm.
The
I would
number
agree.
9. Um, the creative midfield engine. So now we kind of get into this point of who takes over that role since Captain Nagby has retired.
I th- I think we're going to see a bit of we were talking about evolution. I think you're going to see a bit of that when it comes to that role in particular. I think it's going to kind of shift around. I, I whatever we roll out with on Saturday from a formation standpoint, unless it looks a lot different than Nancy's, and I mean like four back, that's kind of what I'm ultimately referring to. But even like positioning where the wings are and who's up top, and if we're going to do 3 or 1, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
I think that that will play a big impact on like a Nagby type role. And I think you'll start to see like my expectations, will probably talk about it later, but is that it'll be Shambos and Sean up there. And so I think those, in my opinion, those are a bit of a contrast to what Darlington was. And I don't think that's a bad way. I think that actually is going to probably push the attack further more because you have that extra person in the back. So I think that's kind of, and I guess maybe spoiling like what my idea of what that formation will look like. And I think ultimately it's not necessarily replacing Darlington Nagby, but how can we keep that level of productivity with how you want that productivity to look? How do we keep that level of productivity in that spot on the field? And I think it's moving some pieces around and formations around to do that.
Where do we see Sean Zawatsky this year? Goalkeeper?
Y- I in Manny brought it up. We have a big squad. That was a fantastic point because that wasn't even something I was going to bring up. But as I was even talking through the depth of the right side, I mean, you could start to see we really have a lot more depth. So I I don't want to assume that Sean is going to be needed in a goalkeeping fashion or a defensive, but at this day and age, I'm not surprised by anything he does. So, and all I have to say, like, I think he could really end up anywhere on the pitch. I think it's very much an idea of who you want to play. Someone like him, and now, in all honesty, like, so he, let's say, sitting in the middle. You could move him around primarily if you wanted to, depending on if they're going to be adjusting to who they're playing, or if they're not. I don't. We haven't gotten that far yet, but if they're adjusting to who they're playing, they're moving him around. We're probably going to see a lot more um like youth being able to get on the pitch and get minutes because in my opinion, especially when you had Aiden, also you had Aiden and Darlington in there in those positions in the mid. I think that's primarily where Sean's going to start off to answer the question. I think he's primarily going to play one of those types of mids out there. He could really play either one of them with his ability. Also, have to say, also, he could shift around anywhere, and we could move a lot of pieces around inside that we just didn't do before. And that's no indictment on Nagby. Obviously, there was no reason to. You would never think to do that, but now there is flexibility to do that. Where I think it makes Sean more important and understandably the captain to be able to move around. But I think primarily he's going to be playing somewhere in the mid. I just don't know quite exactly where that's going to be at because it's all, in my mind, formation based.
Jerald, where do we see Sean Zawatsky this season?
That's honestly a good question because if Camacho's healthy, Camacho's in the would be the starting center back. Unless he ran out with a four-back system, then I would see Sean and Camacho there in the center mid, the middle center backs with either Chaburko and Malde on the left and Steven on the right. Um, it's hard to say exactly until uh, we see them play.
Man, it says, I
You
bet
know,
he's a center back. You need someone who has the ability to make up ground if we get countered. That's true.
That's a good point.
I would go on the I would be on the fence about Camacho just because how long he missed last year, and then obviously having a 3 game first series, and then a long off season. I was thinking probably Yevon would start on Saturday. That is if we roll out a 3 back. We don't know what's happening.
I
Let's
mean, if he runs
just
out of
say that.
four back, I can see Malde and Yevon both starting there on the left side,
Hmm.
and putting Sean and Steven on the right. So I mean, have Yevon and Sean in the middle, Malde and Steven on the out. I mean, I could see that.
Um, Going back, Gerald. Or actually taking a look at our defensive focus. Center back leadership. You mentioned Camacho. Transition defense. I think one of um, our biggest weaknesses last year was our transition defense, and I think that's where we kind of missed Rudy because Rudy would be that center back that sweeper center back where if there was to be a counterattack. I was watching the 2023 MLS Cup yesterday also. He was that first guy to kind of clear danger away and get out and help everybody get back, and so that we can all be set up for the counterattack.
Yeah, I mean, I see that, but like you said before, he didn't play all last year
Yeah.
up until the end of the season. I think it was like 2 or 3 games, the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Then he played in, the Hell is Real best of three, and then he was off, right? So where is his mind mentally, right? Um, can he go the full 90? Can he go 60 minutes? Can he go 45? We don't know yet, right? Uh, we spoke to him in preseason, and he said that coming back from this type of injury and how long he was out, it was a challenge for him. So I mean, we'll have to see, but I mean, you also got to look too at some of the young kids too. Is Rydstrom going to play the cappies, the pups?
Yeah.
If they do well in training, is he going to play them?
Yeah.
And me and you talked a little bit though, Ty. I said, and this is what pissed me off about Nazi is he started acting like Porter and didn't want to play the young kids. When you needed a spark of fresh legs, why not throw the young ones in there? You had Tristan Brown the whole damn season. You only let him come in twice in the year. So, I mean, you got four new, cappies that came up. If they excel in it, and it doesn't matter what the position is, if they excel in training, play them, expose them, to the physicality of being on the first team.
Manny says Malte, Yevon, Sean Zawadski, and Steven as a back four. Taha, Shambo, Gazdag in the midfield. Interesting. Arston, Abu Ali, and Diego Rossi as the 9. So now I think now we kind of got our stuff out of the way, right? We have the other team, that we don't even talk about what happened in 2015 because that was just a whole thing where we're just going to shake from our mind. We have Adam. I want to say, is it Susman?
It is. It is
Oh my gosh,
Susman. Great job. Good start.
Adam Susman from I saw your thing from the Timber Review, joining us to preview the 2026 Portland Timbers. Adam, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, Timbers actually had their media day today, and Tom Bogart reported that they're going to bring in a big player from Gremio. He obviously will not be here on Saturday against Columbus, but I think because of the calendar switch going down the road, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, we should sort of label this matchup. Whoever wins between Portland and Columbus every year just gets to claim Darlington Nagbe for the rest of this season.
I don't agree.
I think he did play more games for Portland, but I think that would be a good little bowl every year, the Darlington Nagbe Bowl.
I mean, he did after Akron reunite with Caleb Porter in Portland. So
he was the Timbers' first ever draft pick, and Diego Chara was the Timbers' first ever DP. It was quite the midfield back then.
Wow. I mean, championships with Columbus.
That's fair. Adam, 2026 Portland Timbers. As I don't know if you saw the chat, but I kind of wrote out some things just from last year, from what I saw. But you have obviously more of an insight with the Timbers. I wrote down the team identity. They're physical. Obviously, they're direct. They're opportunistic. And they're also very dangerous in transition. Can you just kind of give us an insight on what you think this team identity is at our film level this year?
Yeah, so that dangerous in transition point is a good one. In preseason, I actually talked to Greg Berhalter, the Chicago coach, because he played the Timbers, and he was very complimentary about how dangerous they were in transition. The first 10 games of last year, Portland and Columbus reached like near the top of their respective conference. Portland scored 20 goals in their first 10 games, and most of those were on the counterattack. But then after that first 10 games, they're averaging less than a goal per game. So Portland sort of had an identity crisis attacking wise. They try to attack it in the offseason by signing Christopher Velde in the summer. He's sort of their new big name DP. He's somebody that I think has the potential to be an MLS All-Star. He's probably the most technically gifted player this attack has. And honestly, like, we don't really know about the attack because it was a rotating cast of strikers last year between Kevin Kelsey, the former Cincinnati striker, and Felipe Mora, who is the second longest tenured Portland Timber. So you got one old and one young, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins that battle. And I think it'll probably be Kevin Kelsey against Columbus on Saturday, but it's certainly up in the air.
That early season mindset, obviously, you know, we talked about it on our side. This is a very fresh new season for both teams, especially with Columbus. New coach, new captain, a couple departures, a couple of people coming in. But obviously, we want to grind out these points early. I don't know if you know this or not, we have not won in Portland at all. We are 0-4-2 at Providence Park.
Portland's pretty lucky. This is the fifth consecutive year the Timbers get the season opener at home. I think MLS likes putting the games at home in the last, and also with Columbus having a new head coach. This is the third year in a row Portland will face a new head coach. Year one under Phil Neville, it was awesome. They played Chris Armas' Colorado team and smashed them 4-1. Last year they play Jasper Sorensen and they get smoked 4-1. This year, you're hoping for more like 2024 compared to what we saw in 25. So Portland, you know, if you look at the standings from last year, have the hardest strength of schedule in MLS up until the World Cup break. And so you kind of have to win these home games because it gets so hard on the road. And obviously Columbus is a tremendously talented team, but Timber fans want to see 4 to 6 points in these first two games against Columbus and Colorado, because then they have a 7-game stretch, which is like 7 of the 10 best teams in MLS from last year. So it gets really hard.
Would you say that Portland's defense would be one to kind of absorb pressure from Columbus, given how there are similarities between Wilfred Nancy and Henrik Rydstrom? And then when they have those opportunities to kind of counterattack that they're just going to absolutely punch us in the mouth?
Yeah, I think so. Also because they don't have a traditional number 10 right now. David Acosta is the Timbers DP10, and he is out injured for at least the first month of the season, which means they're probably just going to have like a fast sort of winger playing that number 10 spot, probably Christopher Velda. So I do expect Columbus to have more of the ball in this game. But if your fan base, and I don't blame them because center backs are hard to know across the league, I think Finn Surman, the Timbers center back, is probably the best young center back, maybe in Major League Soccer. He's going to be a starter at the World Cup for New Zealand. Really keep an eye on him. I think he's going to go for probably somewhere between 5 to 8 million eventually. If Adi Malanda from Charlotte got 8 million from Middlesbrough, I think that's about the fee that Finn Surman can probably get down the road. He is such an exciting center back, and they'll have you guys probably know well, Brandon Bai starting at right back because Juan Mosquera got a red card against San Diego in game 3 of the playoffs last year. He kind of threw a punch out it was like a soft punch. It was kind of like a shove in the face to Irving Lozano. And I think San Diego's front office probably wants to do that to Irving Lozano as well. But you'll have Jim Rafori at left back. You'll have Finn Surman and this new guy called Alex Bonateg, who was probably the best young center back in the A-League. So there is some uncertainty there, but this Timbers back line last year was their best since 2018, led by Finn Surman, who, as I said, is one of the best in MLS.
Derik, my friend, while I send Jerald a text message, go ahead, guide this next slide for Adam.
Yeah, so obviously, from our side and being on the East Coast, we don't catch, a lot of the West Coast games unless you're a MLS sicko like me sometimes and you just want to watch something, some game that's on the West Coast and later at night. So we don't get to see a lot of or even, sometimes over here in our Eastern Conference ecosphere of hearing a lot about what's going on in the West Coast. And, what would you say from an attacking standpoint, what's it kind of look like from, having some of these veterans and like you mentioned, getting some speedy guys on the wings as well, what's that kind of look like? And what should we kind of look out for?
One thing that was sort of a staple under Phil Neville last year was overloads on the left wing. The number 10 would essentially play as a half winger, but that changed a little bit once Christopher Velda came in. And I've talked to Velda, probably 6 to 8 times in the off, like since he joined the club. And I constantly ask him, where do you think your best position is? And he says like that left wing number 10 hybrid. So if you have a half winger playing at number 10, it would almost be a bit of an overkill. And I broadcasted play-by-play on all of the Timbers preseason matches. They are very comfortable, whether it is Juan Mosquera or Brandon Bai, bombing a fullback up that right flank. So when the Timbers are within possession, let's see if I can think quickly here. It would sort of be a back 3 where the left back, Jim Rafori, would tuck inside, and then the right back would go way up the pitch. And then you would have your number 10 drift to the left a little bit to create, a right wing, right back overload on the right, and then a number 10 left wing overload on the left. And then Kevin Kelsey would sort of be that target striker. Kelsey is, I feel, has like such a high ceiling. You just don't see guys that are 6'4" move that well and are also that good aerially. Right. But he's also a hothead. Like, I think Columbus can get under the skin of Kevin Kelsey and Christopher Velda. Like, that's sort of going to be the MO on the Timbers attackers this year.
No, and that raises a good point, because I think even we saw in a few instances in last year's playoffs with numerous teams, if you can get under somebody's skin, you really affect the entire play and flow of the overall game by doing that. That's a great point to bring up. And you mentioned having somebody that tall and to be able to get in there, it's something that I think most Columbus fans, at least in recent memory, have been, pining for, is getting set pieces and things like that set into place, because we haven't necessarily always had the best luck with it.
Yeah, I mean, how tall is Abu Ali? I think it's like 6'1" or something.
He's got to be one of our taller ones that we've had in quite some time.
I mean, that's that. I just did my sort of Timbers preview for Saturday, and that's one of the biggest things for me is just how does everybody, like the Timbers 2 center backs are 22 and 23 years old. It's still a pretty young back line. And Abu Ali, while he doesn't have a lot of experience in MLS, he scores everywhere he goes. Like, I'm interested to see how the Timbers center back tandem can deal with him. And you guys tell me, I predict he's going to be the starting central striker. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he has not had a lot of preseason minutes, I will say, because that ankle injury that he suffered against Toronto near the end of the season kept him out the rest of the season and the postseason. He hasn't really had a lot of preseason minutes. We know he scored a goal or two against the team in Naples when they were down in Florida for the first leg. Played a couple minutes. I think it was against Nashville, but obviously they did not want to risk anything with him because of that injury. They just wanted him to kind of do the body maintenance on it. He looked good in training yesterday from what we saw for the first half hour. A little slip on the grass. I'm thinking it was just the wetness because it had just put the sprinklers on, but
Yeah.
that was a big scare. But I mean, he got up, he was fine. So I'm thinking he's going to be the number 9 for us on Saturday.
Like, it's obviously not as cold here as it is in Ohio. And I just spent the last 10 days in California, so that was pretty nice. But it is pretty gross, wet and rainy and almost like slushing outside. So, and we know you guys don't play on turf, right?
No.
Providence Park is turf. And
Yeah.
they've almost, and Phil Neville said at his press conference today, they almost have to weaponize it. Like, other teams, and especially pros coming from abroad, don't like it, aren't used to it. And the Timbers obviously are. So I think that is something that, like, the new guys playing at Providence Park for the first time have to get used to.
And Manny brought up a good point. It was 63 today. I think the high was 63 today. So
I'm from Chicago. Like, when Portland and Columbus played in 2015, I was a Chicago Fire fan. Like, don't get me wrong. So I've grown up.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I've grown
I was
up
thinking about asking something about that, but okay, perfect. You're
The
we
Fire
already
are
touched on
my-
the game and all.
The Fire are my boyhood club, but I went to University of Oregon and I've lived in Portland since 2021, covering the team since 23. So obviously, I'd rather the Timbers do well than not. But as a 8 to 18-year-old guy, it was the Chicago Fire for me.
Well, I want to say I'm sorry, first of all.
Oh, no, so I was born, if I was born 10 years earlier, it would have been awesome.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how we got on this tangent, but I'm actually optimistic about the future of the Fire. I hope to see them do well this year in the East.
A big tactical breakdown for us. And Derik and the test, we talked to it just a little bit before you came on. A high possession buildup, overloads in midfield, and we have our fullbacks pushing high. If Richard were to come out in a 3-back, he's been experimenting with a 3-back and a 4-back. I think I heard a 5-back at one time, so we have no idea what's happening. But again, similarities between Richmond and Nancy is that it's kind of the same formation. I want to know what are 3 key tactical breakdowns for the Portland Timbers and how they can pull out 3 points against this Columbus Crew team.
Well, so a new signing, Cole Bassett, is a profile of player we have never really seen since Darlington Nagbe left. Like, when Nagbe was with the Timbers, he was box to box, and that's what Cole Bassett is. He's the Colorado Rapids' best homegrown ever. So to actually pop up some goals from midfield will be very exciting. To the tactical point of that, though, they don't have David Ayala anymore, who is now David Ayala. I guess I don't have to do the Argentine pronunciation. He is now an Inter Miami player, and he led all midfielders in tackles last year. So I think Portland might be a little susceptible in that area behind like the midfielders, but in front of the back line. Elsewhere, tactically, I'm really interested to see, like, let's say Kevin Kelsey is starting, which I presume he is. Does Phil Neville deploy him as a hold-up striker, or does he want him to camp out in the box and be more of a target man? Because last year he was more of a hold-up, and I think it works for counterattacks, but within possession, you just don't have any bodies in the box. And then finally, I sort of mentioned that right-back point. Juan Mosquera had 5 assists from right-back last year. Can Brandon Bye, the former New England man, have that same sort of production? And I guess I'll tack on an extra credit fourth here. James Pantemis, the Timbers starter, like, he straight up stole Max Crepeau's starting job for the club the last couple of years, and Crepeau is now Orlando's number 1. Pantemis, though, 14 wins, 7 losses, 12 draws over the last 2 years, starting about half of the games, is now the bona fide number one. The problem is, and don't tell this to the powers that be at Columbus, if you press James Pantemis, I think he's susceptible. Like, I don't think he is great at distributing out of the back. It cost them a goal against San Diego in game 2 of the playoffs last year. So Pantemis, I'm hoping to see his distribution out of the back be as good as he is as a shot stopper, because I do think he is a near elite shot stopper in MLS.
And I think that kind of comes down to a very tactical battle. We love the ball. We want the ball all the time. However, I know Phil Neville, just from watching him in Miami and games in Portland, that he will have players press whoever's on the ball kind of immediately, maybe bring 2-3 guys to kind of hound that ball. Would you say that's kind of the key tactical battle, is our patience against the Timbers' disruption and how quickly possession can change, whether it's in the final third of the midfield?
I think Portland is okay having 40% of the ball in this game. You look at a lot of their wins last year, and they came that way. Like, you know, when Houston came to Portland, they had 40% of the ball. They won 3-1. When New York came to Portland, they had 40% of the ball. They won 2-1. When the Galaxy came to town, they won 4-2. Like, Portland is not a team that needs to have the ball. And I think because this is game 1 of the season, I don't think they're ready for like a very organized press against the Columbus team that, yes, is under new management, but also just knows how to pass around you. Like, the Columbus Crew always have, 3 or 4 easy passes to make. And I don't think the Timbers press under Phil Neville is going to be good enough in game 1 of the season to truly disrupt a team that is so comfortable with the ball. So I'm expecting Columbus to have 55 to 65% possession in this game.
Moving on, matchups that will decide the key battles. Crew number 10, obviously Diego Rossi. The Timbers holding mid. What do you think that kind of looks like before the X factor?
It is probably Diego Chara, who has started 399 games in MLS. He is obviously a start away from 400. He has got the most active starts of any outfield player in MLS. He's obviously a legend. He'll also be 40 this year, taking him into the top 10 oldest players to start a game in MLS. He is just going to be, keyword, the defensive midfielder. He's not going to be progressing the ball. That's going to be on the new signing, Cole Bassett. Rossi is, for somebody that covers a Western Conference, and I always call myself a Western Conference aficionado, from his time at LAFC to now in Columbus, is probably one of the most enjoyable players in MLS to watch for me. Ricky Puig had that title the last 2 years, but obviously he's going to be out for 2 years now, so I kind of have to give it up to somebody else. And then the Crew fullbacks, I don't know too much about, but Christopher Velde is really physical. He's pretty two-footed. He prefers to cut in on his right, and he likes the dark arts of the game too, so that's going to be interesting. And then on the other wing, Anthony is just fast as hell. Like, Anthony was having an all-star level season last year with 6 goals and 6 assists up until like the summer. And then he pulled a hamstring, and then he was out for 2 months and never the same again. So we're hoping at the start of 26 is more like the start of 25 and not vice versa. And then finally, set pieces on both ends. I think this is really hard for fans to sort of talk about. Like, Portland's a fine set piece team. They're not Minnesota, but they're not as bad as like Sporting Kansas City. They don't have a free kick sniper. I think it'll probably be Velda, but we also don't even know who's taking the corner kick. So I think set pieces, I'll give a slight nod to Columbus.
Would you say that? Sorry, was somebody going to ask him?
That's being gracious with how bad Columbus's set pieces have been in the last year and a half.
Quite honestly,
yeah.
Honestly, since Cucho left, the set pieces really went down. Well, actually, since Zelarayán left, midway through the 23 season, like, they just went downhill. And then you get rid of Cucho, like, I'm sorry, but Diego Rossi doesn't have the leg power to do a damn corner kick.
Well, look, you're talking to a Timbers journalist here who saw Evander score some of the most beautiful free kicks I've ever seen in my life in 2024. Evander had, in terms of goal contributions, a significantly better offensive season in 2024 than he did in 25. And that's saying something considering he was still one of the best in the regular season last year. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be a trip down to offset pieces when Evander's gone.
How big does an early goal change the game? We'll say within like the first 15 minutes.
That's a really good question. I think it's probably a bigger deal if Columbus get it than Portland because Columbus are going to be happy to hold on to the ball. Portland, when they conceded first on the road last year, I'm not sure if they even picked up a point. Compared to home, there was multiple games where they would go down 1-0 and they're still able to often draw back a win. Like there was 2 games in a row. Went down 1-0 to Colorado, won the game 2-1. Went down 1-0 to St. Louis, won the game 2-1. Went down 1-0 to Minnesota, drew that game 1-1. So I don't think it is a death blow for either of these teams like it would be if the Timbers were in Ohio. But for Columbus, I think Portland's a very good zonal defending team with that back line. I think Brandon Bye is a pretty seamless fit into it. He could even be better defensively than Juan Mosquera. So obviously the Portland would be happy to sit back and counter the rest of the game.
I mean, Columbus was, I think, at the tops of giving up goals in the first 15 minutes last year.
Really? Yeah, that's a good stat.
Yeah, we gave up a lot. We gave up a lot, but then we also conceded the most within like the last 15 minutes of a match. So I guess
in between those first and last 15 minutes, though, we were looking real good.
Yeah, if you get us from like minute 16 to like minute 74, yeah, we're solid. We're cool with that. Boys, any questions before we hit predictions?
I saw a lot of chatter online about people, Portland fans who are looking. It almost seemed like they aren't satisfied with maybe the people that they brought in so far. Like they're looking for either more signings or more depth. Is that, accurate from from your standpoint, on that side? Like is that kind of the general consensus?
Yes, I don't think, unfortunately, this will affect Saturday's game. But while I was at Coachella, I have it pretty well sourced. The Timbers are bringing in an attacker, which we saw reported by Tom Bogart today from Gremio. And they're also bringing in a defensive midfielder. There was supposedly a deal done with the defensive midfielder last week, but that deal collapsed for one reason or another. So the club is still looking to bring in a DM because before Cole Bassett signed, 3 weeks ago at this point, the Timbers had 2 healthy first-team midfielders. Xiao Ortiz, who was kind of a letdown in his first season in 2025, and Diego Chara, who I love the guy, but he cannot start, 25-plus games anymore like he used to 5 years to a decade ago. So I think getting in a DM simply just to eat up more minutes and to allow Cole Bassett to be more of an attacking presence and not have to worry about the defensive side is valuable. But if you end the window with bringing in Cole Bassett, Brandon Bye, Alex Bonateg, Alexander, whatever his name is, the new Chilean guy they just brought in today, and a DM, that's 5 like starting level players. I think fans would be happy with a window at that point, but we're still only 3 of those 5 have become official.
Gotcha. Yeah, it reminds me a little of last offseason when we lost Cucho and then Cristiano Ramirez right before the season started. And everyone was immediately clamoring for us to obviously get a starting striker, but just, some kind of depth piece or anything.
Yeah.
And that's when I was reading it. It was really giving me flashbacks to that.
I think there's probably only 2 or 3 fan bases every year in MLS that are actually happy with the off season. And then the other 27 sort of have to live with what we got.
I saw a Miami person today, and I don't know if it was Tom. I think it was Tom Bogart's comments asking why Miami hadn't signed anybody recently, and I was just I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Yeah, David Ayala was probably the Timbers' best player last year, and he's like the 7th best player now for Miami. But he's such a good DM, man. Like I think he's really gonna do good things for Miami.
And just kind of To pivot really quick, I mean, how big of a signing is Cole Bassett? I mean, that guy, I think that was a shock signing for the Portland Timbers.
I would have never guessed he was even available. Like in 2024, he was getting votes for an MLS Best 11 selection. His last, like that great season in 2024, he would have been the leading goal scorer on the Timbers last year with that sort of numbers. He is somebody that every year is top 5 in MLS in terms of distance covered. I think that's something the Timbers miss. And for the longest time, it's sort of like the Timbers have 4 in attack, 2 defensive midfielders, and then a back 4. It was sort of segmented across the roster. And now you have Cole Bassett that sort of marries both of those. It's an awkward contract situation because he is out of contract in December 2027. He is able to be a U22 this year, but he cannot be a U22 next year. So I think his performances this year will deem if he is a DP for the Timbers next year or if he is just a TAM. Obviously, it helps that he's American, but overall, he was, and Phil Neville admitted this at his press conference today, he was a Phil Neville selection. And the GM backed Phil Neville's judgment, but this is a Phil Neville signing who wants to use him in like that Frank Lampard role. And I'm really excited to see because this is not a profile that the Timbers have had in a very long time.
Adam, so you know the both teams are sort of like the bad blood between the clubs and supporters stemming back 11 years. Is that something to watch out for, like the aggression and like the getting into the other players' heads?
Yes, but I don't think it relates back to 2015 because there's only one player on the Timbers roster that was obviously around, and that was Diego Chara, who is frankly the nicest guy in sports media I've ever run into. I think it's somewhat of a factor, but there's so much new on both of these teams, a new manager for Columbus. And I wonder if you asked him, the new manager for Columbus, who did Columbus lose to in the 2015 MLS Cup, if he could tell you on the spot right away. I'm a little skeptical. I think Phil Neville definitely knows because that's the Timbers' only major silverware through their history was winning MLS Cup in 2015. And look, Portland has had, I think they have more hatred for other teams in the Eastern Conference than they do Columbus, specifically NYCFC, because they beat Portland on their home pitch in 2021 in PKs, Sean Johnson in front of Timbers Army, and Atlanta in 2018, which was another beloved Portland team because Nagbe left Portland that offseason, goes to Atlanta, and then beats Portland in MLS Cup. So this will be a fiery game for sure. And I think one thing that is apparent with Providence Park, and I'm not being biased here, like this is true. Road teams play up at Providence Park. They love playing in that atmosphere. They love trying to take down one of the most hostile home atmospheres in MLS. And teams proved last year they can do that. And Columbus certainly has the talent to do that. So it's going to be an emotional. It's also the 100th anniversary of Providence Park, the Timber Stadium. So there's a lot going into this game. It's going to be a fun one.
I would have to say that Providence Park is probably one of my top 3 favorite Western Conference stadiums that I've been to. It's super nice.
So when I was at Coachella, I would ask players like your favorite away ground to play. In the Western Conference, there's rarely an outlier here. It's always either Providence Park or BMO Stadium, LAFC. And the only thing that keeps BMO ahead of Providence Park is that they have grass and Providence Park has turf. That's really it.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, fellas, Adam, appreciate you joining us. We want to know a very, we'll say, non-biased prediction for Saturday.
I will go 1-1 between the Portland Timbers and Columbus Crew. It's not following trend of how Timbers season openers have gone the last couple of years, where they win 4-1 or they lose 4-1. But I do think Portland being at home is a big advantage for a Columbus team that has to go 3 time zones away.
All right, Jerald?
3-2.
3-2 Columbus.
That'd be fun.
Okay. Derik?
I'm gonna say 2-1. I think if the Crew can get their first one, it will give them more confidence in the system they're putting out there, and I think they could get a second. And our defense, to me, is pretty. We have a lot of the same guys, which I think is actually a good thing, regardless of how maybe we ended up playing at the end of a lot of those games towards the end of the year last year. I do trust the defensive side we have, so I'm gonna go 2-1. But to your point, when you're traveling 3 time zones and it's late at night and everything like that, I just I could see that flipping around easily.
I kind of want to go 2-1 Columbus as well. I think the biggest thing is turf, and we do not do well with turf. Will
point.
Sands 2024 against Charlotte. See Rudy Camacho against Charlotte. See Christian Ramirez against Charlotte. We don't do well on turf. I think that's
any
the
game
thing.
against Atlanta.
Yao Yaboa in 2023 or whatever it was. Yeah, we don't do well on turf, but I think 2-1 final. I think we steal one late. In front of the Timbers Army. So sorry, Adam. Gotta say that.
That's okay. That's okay.
I really think it's going to be 3-2. I think Columbus just has a chip, seeing, social media and everybody not pretty much counting Columbus out. Right. And I think they, when Columbus has a chip on their shoulder, they prove everybody wrong.
I was surprised to see, look, we can do this for every freaking team, but I was surprised to see the picks for Columbus range from 2nd to 11th for the expert picks.
Oh yeah, that was wild. They're all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, Portland's is pretty much stand packed in like 7 to 9 range, and Columbus has one of the largest variants. But that's what happens when you have a new head coach. Like that's ultimate. Is he going to be Jasper Sorensen, or is he going to flame out in 1 year? We never know.
I'm hoping it's not the latter. I'll tell you that. Really quick, 3 rapid fire questions. Breakout performance.
I'll go with Kevin Kelsey because he didn't have a goal since August in the last half of the season. He is certainly, if he gets a goal, it's sort of his job going forward. Big tryout for him, game 1 of the season.
Surprise contributor.
I'd say left back Jimmer Forey was played out of position for about half of the season last year on a back 3 playing at the left center back side, and now that he's actually in his preferred left back slot, I think he can do a really good job at whoever's playing down your right flank.
And the last one, tactical wrinkle.
How much defending did the center mids actually do? Because when Cole Bassett gets caught up the pitch, if it's just Diego Char there, I feel like you always hear overloads being on the left and the right side. Columbus can actually probably create some overloads in the middle of the pitch too.
Sweet. Boys, anything else for Adam?
I think that's it. I feel a lot more informed about the Portland Timbers now.
I'm glad.
This game,
I'm glad.
I appreciate that a lot.
I think I'm stealing Ty for my podcast. I'm gonna take him for 10 minutes and learn all about Columbus here.
Perfect.
Hey, real quick, Adam, when they released the kit for Portland?
Yeah.
Like what was the official, like what did you take from the style of the kit? Like
I'll give you the consensus here. Everybody really likes the design. It's honoring Providence Park's 100th year history, obviously one of the most historic stadiums in MLS. The color, on the other hand, is where people are a little iffy. I think a lot of people, especially me, are waiting to see, because it is an away kit. I'm waiting to see what this color looks like on TV. Like, it could look bad, but it could look good, Is it like a canary yellow? It's tough. I really like the arch design. There's a lot of little intricacies on it that I like, but we'll see what it actually looks like in person.
Sweet. Adam, where can the lovely people of our podcast find you at?
Yeah, my outlet and my podcast are both named the same thing. It's the Timber Review. We have daily updates and coverage of the Portland Timbers. The podcast is free twice a week on whatever feed. And then just on social media, Adam_Susman, SUSMAN. Yeah, talk a lot about MLS as well beyond just the Timbers. And I'm looking forward to the calendar switch and we can play Columbus every year. It's going to be a fun one.
Oh, yes, that will be fun.
Adam, give me 5 minutes, wrap this up, and then I'm happy to join you.
Sweet. Take your time.
All righty.
See you guys.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Adam Susman from the Timber Review. Very, very insightful, very knowledgeable about the Portland Timbers. So I'm very happy about that.
I literally feel I could tell other people about the Timbers and what to expect based upon that conversation. So it's fantastic.
I still hate the team.
All right, fellas. What do we think? We give some best bets before we hop out of here.
Well,
hold on, wait. Let's get Jerald's FanDuel set up. This is for strictly entertainment purposes only. We do not. We are not telling you to bet your own money. We're not doing this. Is just for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Best bet number one: Columbus Crew or draw. It's a double chance. Obviously, Columbus Crew has to control the possession and the tempo of the match. Correct.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Both teams. Number two. Both teams are coming in new. Freshly looked new players, everything like that. I don't expect a lot of goals, so I'm going to go under 3 total goals or 3.5 total goals.
Ugh.
That goes against our predictions that we just made.
Well, this is entertainment purposes only.
It goes against y'all's.
No, it doesn't. No,
y'all are good. Y'all are good, but I know mine's going to hit.
Oh, so you're saying you wouldn't even take this? Okay.
I'd go over 3.5 goals.
It's how is it mess up ours? We both said 2-1. That's 3. I said 3.5.
No, Derik said.
Oh, you changed it to.
I didn't change it. I didn't change anything.
I said 2-1.
I said 2-1.
And he said he would. And Ty said to take under 3.5 goals. So that was
3 on here. That's why I went with 3.
Well, because you can't bet straight. It's like 3.5.
I got you.
Whatever.
Oh, so under 3.5, I will take. I feel good about that.
Yeah,
I take over.
He's going over.
Right.
Early season sharpness is still developing. Obviously, Portland is likely to sit deep and slow the match, and obviously punch us right where it hurts when they can. And I think opening matches are often tighter than expected. Forget about last year when we beat Chicago Fire 4-2. That was just a fluke, right?
Or Atlanta in 23.
Yeah, well, that wasn't even an opening match.
No. My bad. In 24, where it was Christmas. It was the first game of the season, and it was 7-1, 6-1.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
and it was Star
I can't
Wars
believe I
night.
forgot about that. Yes, 100%. They were scoring like crazy.
Was that opening night?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was 23.
That's 24. Opening game on 23 was at Philly.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right.
We came out
2
and
handballs.
just absolutely smashed them.
Yeah, you're
it was
right.
Like the best Christmas ever.
Honestly.
It was just so much fun.
Yeah,
because that's when they released the Charlie Brown kit.
Yeah, and then Daniel Gazda got 2 goals against us in 23. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
fucking
right.
Milos Steganik and Philip Quinton. I think it was the other one.
Those were the days.
Hey, Philip Quinton is still with Real Salt Lake, though.
That's crazy to me, honestly.
Last bet, Columbus Crew, the first team to score. We're going to have an aggressive counter. And as Adam said, goalkeeper, early pressure forces mistakes. He's susceptible to goals. So I think Columbus Crew will be the first team to score. Those are the 3 that we have Again, strictly entertainment purposes only. We are not sponsored by anybody. We are just making fun. So making this a little fun. Fellas, anything else before we wrap up?
I think that I was thinking when Adam was talking that I was putting together my thoughts of how we can gauge a successful, like what we're trying to do out there. I think let's say pre-scoring, hopefully, is getting the ball, creating kind of a chaotic zone in between their midfield and their back line. And then he proceeded to say that he felt like that was the weakest part of defending anywhere on the pitch for that team. Like that's the best spot to get into in order to score, which, a lot of people would say that, but obviously he sees that as like a weakness for them. So in my mind, if you see us spending a lot of time in there, even if it's not necessarily always getting a shot on goal or getting something out there where we were in an attacking position, I think that will be a really good sign that we are doing what we want to be doing. And this it could end up being a really good opponent, and their weaknesses to build up confidence in that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I will say this: we'll either get a Hugo goal or a Dylan goal off of a set piece.
You're speaking our language right here.
Love that.
Oh man,
love that.
And I could say Abu Ali's gonna walk out with a brace.
Oh, okay. Calling it. I like that. If you enjoyed today's conversation and you want to help keep the show independent and not really sponsor free, but hey, if you want to keep the show independent, check out the Wisemen Say merch store by scanning the QR code at the top right hand of your screen or checking out the pinned tweet on our Twitter page. We will be announcing the winner of the ceramic mug giveaway right after the show, after I put all the names in. I was going to do it now, but we got into our discussion with the Portland Timbers. I can actually type them in while we do all the things. So check out the Wisemen Say merch store again, scanning the QR code at the top right hand of your screen or checking the pinned tweet on our Twitter page. Every hoodie, shirt, hat, mug, and sticker helps us keep doing this. Again, link will also be in the show notes and everywhere on social media. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Wiseman Pod, here on YouTube at the Wiseman Say Podcast. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Click the bell for post notifications when we go live, post new content. You guys can follow us on Blue Sky at Wiseman Say Podcast.bsky.social. You guys can follow us on Instagram at the Wiseman Say Podcast as well. You guys can follow Derik on social media
at Funky Moses 17.
You guys can follow Jerald on social media
at Jerald_Lucas96.
And you guys can follow me on social media at FisherTyler__ on Twitter or at FisherTyler.bsky.social. Fellas, please continue to talk about Saturday while I type in these names so we can figure out who is going to win the ceramic mug giveaway for us reaching 100 subscribers on Twitter or on YouTube.
So I just know that last time we played Portland, it was 2-2 almost to the end, and Portland, in a wild game, ended up making it 3-2, winning. And that was one that Nazi was suspended for because of the Sergei Boyko game the week before. So
do we know who's ref in this game?
No.
Not yet.
I swear to God, if it's Boyko,
I don't think it is. I'm not quite sure, but I don't think it's him.
I really hope not.
Man.
I'm excited for late night crew on Saturday night. I don't want to every week. I'm excited for it, but that would really change my excitement quickly.
Yeah. All right, fellas, we have names in the random wheel generator. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Apologies if I've missed anyone. But we are going to figure out who wins the ceramic mug giveaway. So without further ado, fellas, here we go. We ready? And spin.
Oh, it does have kind of a spinny noise.
I can't hear anything. So, and it looks like to be, I would say this name is Zachary on Blue Sky.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's not even how I was going to pronounce it, but you're totally right.
Yeah. So, congratulations, Zachary, for winning this ceramic mug. We will be reaching out to you for shipping info and all that fun stuff. So yeah, congratulations. I know you're on Blue Sky. I will make sure to shoot you a message on Blue Sky or post this on Blue Sky for you. I know you're on Blue Sky. If you happen to be watching, congratulations, and whatnot. So congratulations to Zachary.
Congrats.
And yeah, other than that, friends, it's been fun. We have match week here in a couple days. And yeah, that's it.
We needed more giveaways. Is this
fun? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I do like the wheel.
Yeah.
The wheel is a fun
time.
time.
Yeah, the wheel's actually really cool.
Just some more trivia throughout the season.
Yeah, I know, right?
If anyone's on Blue Sky, try to find me too, because I would like to start getting more interaction. Like I want to interact with people on there more. So especially if you're a crew fan, hit me up or add me and I'll add you back because I want to have a conversation more. Maybe on Saturday night I will jump on there as opposed to Twitter to chat about the game.
Breaking news.
Ooh.
Portland Timbers versus Columbus Crew at Providence Park. Referee Alan Chapman. Assistant referee 1, Kevin Locke. Assistant referee 2, Diego Blas. Fourth official, Brandon Stevis. VAR, Jose Carlos Rivero. And assistant VAR, Fabio Tovar. Those are our match officials for Saturday.
Jerald got so mad that he just logged off. Didn't like that lineup. I have no opinion.
So, other than that, friends, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, catch us next time. At least I want to do one. I don't know about you guys. Watch along Saturday night for the match. We'll be just talking through the match, not really doing like a whole podcast, just talking through the match. I'll keep a score tracker going and whatnot. So, yeah. I can't remember how I end this show, but thanks for tuning in. Yeah.
As tradition goes.
Stay safe, stay cool, stay hydrated, hug your loved ones. Yeah. Jerald, my friend, as tradition goes, Wiseman say. Wiseman say? No, Jerald, unmute. Unmute. I can't.
It is the first game of the season, everyone. We got to get our legs under us a little bit.
Hey. Only fools rush in.
Stay safe, stay cool, stay hydrated, hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all.